Okay, right. So, JP Bakery. So, JP Bakery, um, first of all, they want us to actually put things into the trial balance. So, let's get comfortable with that. I mean, hopefully, you can. This is good practice for you to pick up your debits and credits. You know that you should really identify these as either being assets or liabilities or expenses or income, right? And of course, using dead click, you can then decide what side it should go on because you know that your assets and your expenses typically will be brought down to the debit side when you finish working with them and in effect become debits. So accruals, this is a liability, of course, or it's something you owe. Prepayments are an asset. Expenses are expenses, so that's E. Expenses here as well. Expenses here as well. Revenue is income, yes, so that's an I, isn't it? All right. Purchases, of course, here. Um, Sales ledger control account, so that's an asset. This is a liability, or that you owe that. Rent is an expense. Purchases return. So if you have purchases here, this is really the sister account of that. So that's on the opposite side of purchases, right? Side of purchases. Then you have discount allowed, and discount allowed are here. They're an expense. And then you have capital here because C is dead click, DEACLI. All right. Then you have a loan, which is a liability. And then you have your paying interest, that's an expense. Then you have drawings, right? So drawings, expense, assets, right? So you can always do a double entry yourself. If you do drawings and you have bank, you know that you're taking money out of for your own use out of the bank. So that's a debit because when you do the carry down, you'll have this, you do this, you'll have the brought down coming back here. So we extract the brought downs for the trial balance. Yes, I repeat, we extract brought down figures for the trial balance. And so you have motor vehicles, 19,000, and the associated accumulated depreciation. So you know the accumulated depreciation is always on the, it literally is the opposite of that. That's how we know what the value of this car is. If you wanted to know what the value of this car was, you will subtract the 2043 from the 19,000. Yes. This is VAT control account owing. So that's a liability. You owe that. And wages are an expense. So what we need to do now is to add up all the debits and add up all the credits. Let's just do that very quickly. Add all of this up, everything here on the credit side. If you add all that up, you will get 80. You'll get 86. Please do it. 86. Well, this is your. I suppose you are comparing your answers. Is what I'm doing. And when you add all of this up, you're going to get 81,819. So there's a difference. So we put that difference. I'll just change my pen color in the suspense account, right? We put that difference in the suspense account, subtract the 2, and you will get 5164, right? And then you can now put your total in there of 86,983. Right. So that's our trial balance first of all done. So now we know we need to deal with this suspense account, right? Okay. Right, let's look at this suspense account then. So the first thing we have in front of us is it says that Jane puts 5,000 into the business after receiving a check. So she put some money in, and that would have been capital. It says so she would have put the money into the bank for 5,000. She's not put it in. So your job is to find the account with the issue and fix that. So no other entries have been made. So now so that's why we have the difference. That's why we have a suspense account because nothing happened here. So what she should now do is to open up the suspense account. Yes, open up the suspense account. I mean, well, the suspense account's there, and that's what you're seeing right there. That's the 5164 that's sitting in there. So when she fixes the capital account by putting in 5,000, she should debit the suspense account with 5,000. So we should have debit the suspense account 5,000, credit capital 5,000, and that's how you deal with that one, right? So just to give me space, I'm going to do the next one here as well. So let's look at this. The next question says that the VAT on the purchase, sorry, the gross column of the sales day book. So you'd have your sales day book. It's a diary, your sales day book. And what you've done, of course, is that you've taken your figure from your sales day book. And of course it is sales ledger control account. And it says that in the process, you've taken the total figure. Remember that the way the sales day book works, let me just clean this out. Remember the way the sales book works is that there are three columns. There's VAT, right? So you would have A, B, C. Let's just put that. So you'd have the net VAT and the gross, right? So you imagine you have 500 here, you'd have 100 here, and you'd have 600 here, and you'll do that. Imagine you had, let's just say you had this 3 times. It doesn't really matter. So, and then this is 1,500, and this is 300, and this is 1,800. So in a nice, if everything was okay, you simply should go 1,800 here, and then you will have revenue 1,500, and then you'll have VAT 300, and everyone's happy, right? But somehow you have overcast this by 385. So there's 385 too much in here, right? So I'm just going to put 385. You had added this too much. So that's why there's a difference between your debits and your credits. So your job is to then find a way to fix that by debiting this 385. Sorry, crediting. I meant to say crediting this 385 and thus debiting the suspense account, right? So I will debit the suspense account 385 and credit the sales ledger control account 385, right? And that's how you deal with that one. Yes. And so what I think is a good way to do this is let's literally switch this to account for purchases, right? Let's just quickly pretend that we're talking about purchases. So if we're talking about purchases in exactly the same way, we have 3 suppliers, A, B, and C, same thing. But the question here says that the VAT column of the purchase has been undercast. So when you were doing your double entry for this one now, I'm pretending this is purchases now, you would have said purchases 1,500, VAT 300, purchase ledger control account 1,800. That's how this would have looked, right? What I'm telling you now is somehow, I don't know, when you did this, you undercast this. If I pretend and actually treat this like this, I've actually put here 107. Yes, because it's undercast. So somehow you transferred 107 from here to here. So you need to fix it. So you need to just, so that's why there's a difference, of course, right, between your debits and your credits. So your job then is to then upgrade that. Your job is to upgrade that by putting in the 193. So you put a journal 193, and then you'll credit the suspense account, right? So you then debit the VAT and credit, so which is why you're doing this. You're doing here debit 193 and credit the suspense account 19193. All right, and that's that one. Right, let's get rid of this and then deal with the next one, which is to do with rent. So the question then says that what we see is that you have, here we are, you have rent and bank, right? Rent and bank, and the question says that amount of 4,500. So you have, technically you should really debit the rent account 4,500 and credit bank, but somehow you have credited both the rent accounts and the bank account. So you definitely get a difference. So your suspense account, so you imagine this is your suspense account, there's a difference in there. So what you need to do is to fix the account with the problem. So what that means is you first of all need to debit the rent account with 4,500 and credit the suspense account, and then do it again, 1,500 and 4,500, or just call it 9 grand. But the point is that you need to do it twice to bring the rent account back to 4,500, and thus you would have fixed that. So if we come here, suppose in one swoop, we can just really say 9,000 and 9,000, right? That's that one. Let's look at the last question. It says that an accruals for electricity has been correctly credited. An accruals for electricity. So you have electricity here. This is the accruals, and the 1356 has been correctly put in here in the accrual, but no entry has been made. So we need to put it in electricity because there's a gap, and that's why there's a difference. So fix it by debiting the electricity with 1356 and debiting electricity and crediting the suspense account with debiting electricity 1356 and crediting the suspense account 1356, and you should see the suspense account disappear. All right. Awesome. Great stuff. That is question 23.